Hi, Rachel. Ramya here from News 18 Cricketnext. Thank you so much for joining with me in this conversation.
No, thanks for having me.
Yeah, so Rachel, recently, the WPL auction concluded successfully for all the teams. But I want to know, how did it go for the Gujarat Giants? And especially, what was your experience like?
Yeah, look, we're really happy with the squad we were able to put together. I think stepping into that room, no one really knew what to expect. But yeah, it was a wonderful occasion for the game, and obviously really exciting for everyone involved and for the players who got the opportunity to be allocated to different franchises. So yeah, as I said, we're very happy with the squad that we put together, and yeah, hopefully we can have a very successful tournament.
Well, yeah, we all hope so for the team. But Gujarat banged on quite a few all rounders. So, in that case, which player do you find as the most valuable buy for the team?
Yeah, a lot of people have pointed that out, but I think, certainly if you take a closer look at our squad and the players and their strengths, there's certainly some roles that both our local and international contingent will fill within our side. But given that Ashleigh Gardner went for the top of our side, I can see that it was a player we thought was really important to draw to our team. She's a very explosive batter and someone who can bowl in all three phases of the game. So yeah, we're really excited to secure her along with all the other players who make up the squad.
Well, yeah, and you have also played alongside Gardner, and absolutely, as you mentioned, that she's an explosive player in the format. So, was there the plan to get Gardner at that cost in the auction? And also, have you thought of your marking the captain's role for Gardner?
Well, I think it was sort of hard going in to know exactly what the top price point would be. We went in with a philosophy around trying to identify the roles that we wanted to fill in our side, and then trying to recruit the best players possible to do that. So, because it was the first women's Premier League auction, it was hard to tell, I suppose, exactly where different players would fall in the price and those sorts of things. And there was data to draw off with the men's IPL, which we certainly had a look at. But yeah, you can never really know for sure. But we were really happy to secure a player like Ash. If you look at the depth across the squad as well, I think we've got some really good players to fill different roles within our side. And in terms of our leadership position, we'll announce that in due course. We're still just working through that at the moment. But yeah, we're really confident we've got a good group of players to choose from in that respect.
Okay. Yeah, I understand that. So, when we talk about WPL auction, and you were just also mentioning about, because it's an inaugural edition. So, what was your take on the Indian recruits? Do you think that Gujarat Giants team missed out on the marquee Indian players at the auction?
No, this has been an interesting observation. We've had a few people sort of raise this, but keep in mind the three of the Indian players we've recruited to our squad, they're over at the World Cup at the moment representing India. So we very much think that we've got some good players in our side. Harleen Dole, Sneh Raina, Meghna as well. They're all over at the World Cup, being part of that tournament. So from our point of view, we think we've secured some really good international Indian players, and also complement that with some local talent as well. So Mansi Joshi, Monica Patel. We've got some really good local players to draw off too. So yeah, I think it's natural to sort of always look for those big names, but certainly my experience being part of tournament cricket, it's not always about just the big players. You've got to have a well-balanced squad, and a squad that you think you can really pull together and help play meaningful roles within the tournament.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned quite a few players who were part of the Under-19 Women's World Cup, and as the Indian team won that tournament, I want to know that how introduction of Under-19 Women's World Cup helped these youngsters to get the WPL contracts. Also, since a lot of young girls have been selected in various teams, so how do you see this tournament, the WPL, shaping their career from here on?
Certainly the Under-19 World Cup, we've got the winning coach with us as well, Nooshin. She's been fantastic to work with. But yeah, it's really important to make sure that, I suppose some up and coming players are getting an opportunity to learn off the best players in the world. And it's going to be a wonderful development opportunity for them too. I've certainly seen the benefits of that back home in Australia through a competition like the WBBL, and just how much that's added to the depth in our local talent. And I imagine that will do very much the same for Indian cricket. Likewise, in a competition like the 100 too, some younger players having the opportunity to be around established international cricketers and learn a little bit off them. You can't help but get better. So I think, it's really natural for people to perhaps think about the big names around the competition, but I think it's also a wonderful opportunity for domestic players and some of those young under-19 players who have been picked up to really learn and develop as cricketers as well.
Yeah. So in that sense, are there any specific roles that you have planned for the players in your team? Because there is a combination of players who have played various tournaments, and there are young girls as well. So are there any special roles and responsibilities that they'll be carrying forward in this tournament?
Yeah, so we certainly recruited based on the roles that we wanted to have players play within our group. So whether it's them taking the new ball and bowling in the power play, or coming in a bit later in the innings and bowling middle to death overs and those sorts of things. So we've definitely planned and had in mind players who we've recruited to perform different roles across the team. And obviously that'll hopefully be evident when we play our first game. You'll see the roles that we're looking for players to play. So we've tried to have a nice balance in the squad as well. We're playing at 2 different venues, so be able to pick maybe a more spin-heavy attack if we want to, versus a pace-heavy attack at different venues. So we think we've got that flexibility within our squad, and looking forward to bringing everyone together.
Yeah, right. So, as you saw, how other teams also roped in, key players, and as your first match is against Mumbai Indians, and that'll be an exciting match on the first day of this tournament. So, what are the plans? What are the strategies that are going on from now itself?
Well, I'm not going to share with you our plans, but certainly we've got a training camp before the tournament starts. So we'll look to bring as many players together as possible. Obviously, there's some players in our squad who'll be at the World Cup, so they'll join us a little bit later in that camp. But really keen to get together all the players that are available and start working on, I suppose, just tuning up our games. There's a really short amount of time, so you can't necessarily make monumental changes to players' games. It's about getting them nice and focused on the role that we want them to play in our side, and just trying to execute that, whether it be in our practice games or in our net sessions.
Well, yes, absolutely. Also, you were just talking about, how all the games are scheduled on 2 venues. So how do you see this concept? Because in other leagues, we have seen that, the matches are played across the venues. But since this is inaugural event, that's why the 2 venues are decided, and all the matches are in Mumbai itself. So in terms of the weather conditions and the duration of this tournament, how do you see the play of the matches in just the 2 venues?
Yeah, well, I think probably the first thought is that towards the end of the tournament, you'd imagine that the wickets might be getting a little bit tired. There's a lot of traffic on them, and teams are playing a lot at 2 particular venues. So, the conditions might change across the course of the tournament. So I think teams that are able to be flexible, perhaps in their selections and the makeup of their team, to pick the best players for the conditions will probably have an element of success attached to what they're able to do. But it's just a matter. We've got some really good local knowledge to draw on. Obviously, Mithali Raj's experience and Noosh as well as one of our coaches. They're going to be 2 people who we draw on who've played a lot of cricket in Mumbai, and we'll be able to share that within the group as well. So, I don't want to go in with too many preconceived ideas about what we might face, but certainly there'll be some data to draw on in terms of traditionally what happens at those venues, and then obviously as a group we'll need to adjust based on the conditions that we're faced with.
Yeah, absolutely right. So as you mentioned about Mithali Raj, obviously she has a lot of experience, and so do you. You have a great experience of international cricket. In that sense, what kind of routines are you planning from now onwards till the 4th of March?
Yeah, well, I think it's probably about trying not to do too much, to be honest. Probably the first inkling is when everyone comes together is to try and do as much as you can and fit fit as much training as possible into a short space of time. But I think it's about just, as I said earlier, tuning the players up, getting them ready to play and keeping them nice and fresh, because we have got a lot of games in a short amount of time. So we need to make sure that, we're not, I suppose, overtraining and those sorts of things, and just trying to keep the group fresh. And as you alluded to, Mithali's been a fantastic player across her career. And as our mentor, she's someone who, whose experience we'll definitely look to draw on. I think she'll be fantastic around the group in being able to share her knowledge. And she's a real asset to our franchise.
Well, on last note, Rachel, how do you think that WPL will be shaping women's career in cricket? And not only cricket, I mean, in sports overall, because, globally, people think that, women's participation in sports is not that much as compared to the other gender. But how do you think that WPL will be changing this whole perspective at looking on things?
Yeah, well, I think first and foremost, from a cricket perspective in India, I think it'll do wonders for the game. As I said earlier, we've seen firsthand back in Australia what a competition like the WBBL has done. It's created a huge amount of depth and lots of interest in the game, and perhaps a different demographic than what we've seen traditionally in men's cricket and those sorts of things. So a lot more families around and more women and those sorts of things, which is really important to show that the game is a place for everyone. I think the competition has a real role to play from that perspective in terms of creating depth in Indian cricket, but also potentially drawing a whole new fan base to the game, which sounds a little bit funny considering how many people already follow the game in India. But certainly, I think globally as well, this competition as a domestic competition has the potential to go on to be one of the biggest in the world. And I think it's number 2 at the moment. The only one in front of it is the WNBA from some of the stats that I've read. But I think as the competition gets going and it grows, I suspect that it will well and truly surpass that. So that's very exciting for future players, and I think for the game too.
Well, yes, we all hope that, that this tournament brings in all opportunities for the young girls. Thank you so much, Rachel, for joining with me. And we at Cricketnext wish Gujarat Giants all the best for the tournament.